Lucy stood alone in the corridor outside the bridal suite, her white rehearsal dress clinging to her like a second skin, her fingers clutching her phone so hard the edges bit into her palm. The screen glowed with messages she wished she'd never seen. Transaction complete. Research files transferred. Immigration leverage confirmed. She's yours now. Her fiancé's words, typed with the same fingers that had traced her spine just last week. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, like this story, and tell me where you're watching from in the comments, because this story is about to take you somewhere you've never been before. The door at the end of the hallway opened, and Junwoo stepped out, his shirt half unbuttoned, his expression somewhere between guilt and irritation. When he saw her standing there, his face went blank. "Lucy, don't." Her voice cracked. "Don't say my name like that." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "You weren't supposed to see those." "I wasn't supposed to," she laughed, sharp and brittle. "You sold my research. You gave them access to my visa files. You handed over everything I've built in this country like I was some kind of asset. You are an asset." His tone was matter-of-fact, clinical. A valuable one. Mr. Chen needed reassurance that his investment was protected. "Your work on biometric encryption was part of the package." "The package." She repeated the words slowly, tasting vile. "What am I, Junwoo? What was I to you?" He adjusted his cufflinks, not meeting her eyes. "You were part of the deal. From the beginning." The floor tilted beneath her feet. 2 years. 2 years of late-night conversations, of him holding her when she cried about her mother's death, of promises whispered against her skin. All of it calculated. Transactional. "I loved you." The admission felt like pulling glass from a wound. "I know." He said it without malice, without anything. That made it easier. She moved before she could think, her hand swinging toward his face. He caught her wrist midair, his grip just tight enough to hurt. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," he said. "The wedding is off. You'll receive a settlement. Enough to start over somewhere else. Let her go." The voice came from the shadows at the far end of the corridor. Low. Controlled. Absolute. Junwoo released her wrist immediately, stepping back as if he'd been burned. Lucy turned. The man who emerged from the darkness moved like water, smooth, unhurried, inevitable. He was taller than Junwoo, broader through the shoulders, dressed in a black suit that looked like it cost more than her entire wardrobe. His face was all sharp angles and harder edges, his eyes dark enough to swallow light. She'd seen him before. At family dinners. At business meetings. Always in the background, always silent. Junwoo's guardian, though the exact nature of their relationship had never been clear. Orphaned young, Junwoo had once said. Raised by this man. Protected by him. Everyone called him Min-jae. Nobody called him anything else. Hyung, Junwoo said, his voice suddenly smaller. This doesn't concern you. Min-jae didn't look at him. His gaze was fixed on Lucy, assessing her with the kind of attention that made her skin prickle. Not sexual. Not quite. Something more predatory. More possessive. Clear the hallway, Min-jae said. Within seconds, men appeared from nowhere. Hotel staff, security, people Lucy had never seen before. They moved with military precision, ushering guests away, closing doors, creating a bubble of silence around the four of them. Junwoo shifted his weight. I'll handle this. You've handled enough. Min-jae's tone didn't rise, didn't sharpen. It didn't need to. Leave. She's my. She was never yours. Min-jae finally looked at him, and whatever Junwoo saw in his eyes made him go pale. Leave. Now. Junwoo left. Lucy watched him go, her mind struggling to process what was happening. The betrayal. The stranger who commanded a room with 2 words. The way her body was shaking and she couldn't make it stop. Min-jae moved closer and she flinched. He stopped immediately, holding her gaze. I'm not going to hurt you. Why should I believe you? Her voice came out steadier than she felt. You're his family. I'm his guardian. Not his family. The distinction seemed important to him. There's a difference. He shrugged off his jacket, a smooth, practiced motion, and held it out to her. She stared at it, confused. You're shaking, he said. Take it. She wanted to refuse. Wanted to throw it back in his face. But her teeth were chattering, her skin covered in goosebumps that had nothing to do with temperature. She took the jacket. It was still warm from his body, smelling faintly of cedar and something darker, more complex. She pulled it around her shoulders, and the weight of it felt like armor. "What do you want?" she asked. "To offer you a choice." He gestured toward the bridal suite door. "You can go in there, pack your things, accept Junwoo's settlement, and disappear. Or what? Or you can let me help you." She laughed, the sound harsh in the empty hallway. "Help me? You're part of this. You had to know what he was doing." "I knew. No apology. No excuse. I didn't agree with his methods. But you didn't stop him." "No," his jaw tightened, the only crack in his composure. "That was my mistake." Before you hit that like button, let me tell you, this story gets darker, more intense, more impossible to walk away from. So do me a favor. Subscribe, drop a comment below telling me what you think of Min-jae so far, and let's continue this journey together. Because what happens next? You won't see it coming. Lucy pulled his jacket tighter around herself, hating how safe it made her feel. "Why now? Why help me now?" "Because you deserve better than being traded like livestock." He said it simply, as if it were obvious. "And because I can." "Can what?" "Protect you. From Junwoo. From Mr. Chin. From everyone who thinks they can use you." "I don't need protection. I need," her voice broke. "I need my life back. Your visa sponsor was Junwoo's company. Your apartment was in his name. Your research grant came through his connections." Min-jae listed the facts without cruelty, but each one landed like a blow. "You have 72 hours before your legal status becomes questionable. Less than that before Mr. Chin decides to leverage what he's already paid for." The walls seemed to close in. She'd known Junwoo had helped with her paperwork, had smoothed the path for her research position, but she hadn't realized how completely he'd woven himself into every aspect of her life. How thoroughly he'd trapped her. "What exactly are you offering?" she asked. "Safety. Time. Resources." He paused. "A way out that doesn't destroy everything you've built." "In exchange for what?" "Nothing you're not willing to give." The answer was too smooth, too practiced. She'd heard variations of it before from Junwoo, from men who thought her accent made her naive, from people who'd mistaken her kindness for weakness. "I don't believe you," she said. "Good." The corner of his mouth lifted, not quite a smile. "You shouldn't trust easily. Not anymore." He pulled a card from his pocket, holding it out to her. "Plain black, no text except a phone number embossed in silver. 24 hours, he said. "Call that number if you change your mind. After that, the offer expires. And if I don't call? Then I wish you luck." He meant it, she realized. "You'll need it." He turned to leave, and panic flared in her chest, irrational, unwelcome, undeniable. She was alone in a foreign country with a shredded visa status and a man who'd sold her secrets to criminals. This stranger, this guardian who moved through the world like he owned it, was offering her a lifeline. A lifeline that would probably drown her in different ways. "Wait." He stopped, looking back over his shoulder. "How do I know you're any different from him?" she asked. "How do I know you won't?" "You don't." He said it without hesitation. "But I'm going to tell you something Junwoo never did. I'm not a good man, Lucy. I've done things that would make you run screaming. But I keep my word. Always. And I'm giving you my word now, if you let me help you, I will never lie about who I am or what I want." "What do you want?" His gaze held hers, dark and fathomless. "To see you safe. That's all." It should have sounded noble. It didn't. It sounded possessive, dangerous, like a claim being staked. She should have said no. "Okay," she whispered. Something shifted in his expression, satisfaction, maybe, or something hungrier. "Okay, help me. Please." He nodded once, pulling out his phone. "Pack light. We leave in 30 minutes. "Leave? Where?" "Somewhere Chen's people won't find you." He typed rapidly, his fingers moving with the same controlled precision he brought to everything. "Somewhere you can think clearly without looking over your shoulder. I can't just disappear. I have a job, responsibilities. Your job was contingent on your relationship with Junwoo. It's gone. Your lab access will be revoked by morning. He looked up from his phone. You have two choices. Come with me now, or spend the next week fighting battles you can't win. The truth of it settled in her bones. She was ruined. Junwoo had made sure of that. 25 minutes, Min-jae said softly. Pack light. She went. The apartment Min-jae brought her to wasn't what she expected. No penthouse, no obvious luxury. Just a quiet building in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place that looked expensive because of what it didn't have: no doorman, no cameras, no paper trail. He opened the door to a space that was all clean lines and neutral colors, impersonal except for the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Guest room is through there, he said, nodding toward a hallway. Bathroom attached. There's a laptop in the desk if you need to contact anyone. I don't have anyone. The admission slipped out before she could stop it. His expression softened, barely, almost imperceptibly. You have me now. It should have sounded comforting. Instead, it sent heat crawling up her spine, dangerous and unwelcome. I'll be in the next room if you need anything, he continued. Try to sleep. Sleep. She laughed, the sound brittle. Right. He crossed to the kitchen, returning with a glass of water and 2 pills. Melatonin. Mild, non-addictive. Take them if you want, don't if you don't. But you need rest. She took the glass, not the pills. You're very prepared. I'm always prepared. He loosened his tie, the motion drawing her attention to the column of his throat, the precise way his hands moved. That's how you stay alive in my world. And what world is that? One you don't want to know about yet. He turned away. Get some rest, Lucy. Tomorrow we plan. Plan what? How to get your life back without getting you killed. He said it so casually, like death was just another variable to account for. She wanted to demand answers, explanations, reassurance. But exhaustion was catching up with her, dragging her down like an undertow. She retreated to the guest room, closing the door behind her. The bed was massive, the sheets Egyptian cotton, everything perfectly arranged. She sat on the edge, still wearing his jacket, and finally let herself cry. She cried for the future she'd imagined with Junwoo. For the trust she'd given so freely. For the research she might never finish, the career she might never have, the life she'd built that had turned out to be nothing but smoke and mirrors. When the tears finally stopped, she was hollow. Empty. She stripped off her rehearsal dress, letting it pool on the floor like a shed skin. She showered in water hot enough to hurt, scrubbing away Junwoo's touch, his lies, the feeling of his hands on her wrist. When she emerged, wrapped in a towel, she found fresh clothes laid out on the bed. Women's clothes. Her size. She pulled on the soft cotton pants and oversized shirt, wondering how Min-jae had known. Wondering what else he knew about her. Sleep was impossible. She paced the room, her mind racing through scenarios and solutions, each one more hopeless than the last. Around 3 in the morning, she gave up and opened the door. The apartment was dark except for a light in the kitchen. She found Min-jae there, still dressed in his shirt and slacks, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He was reading something on his phone, his expression carved from stone. He looked up when she entered, unsurprised. Can't sleep, he asked. Can you? I rarely do. He gestured to the bar stool across from him. Sit. She did, tucking her bare feet under her. This close, she could see the fine lines around his eyes, the shadow of stubble on his jaw. He looked tired. Human. It made him more dangerous somehow. What happens now? She asked. Now, we make you untouchable. He set down his phone, giving her his full attention. Chin wants your research. Junwoo wants his money. The university wants to avoid scandal. You're a loose end that everyone wants tied up. So how do we? We make you too valuable to touch. Too connected to threaten. He paused. We make you mine. The word hung between them, heavy with implications. Yours, she repeated carefully. My wife. Legally. He said it without inflection, watching her reaction. Marriage gives you immediate legal protection. Visa status. Social capital. And it sends a very clear message to everyone involved: you're under my protection now. That's insane. That's practical. He leaned back, his posture relaxed, but his eyes were sharp. Chin won't touch my wife. Junwoo won't dare. The university will scramble to accommodate you rather than risk offending me. And what do you get out of this? His smile was slow, dangerous. Peace of mind. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting tonight. He finished his whiskey, setting the glass down with careful precision. Think about it. You have until morning. And if I say no, then I'll help you leave the country. Set you up somewhere safe. Give you enough money to start over. He met her gaze. But you'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder, wondering when Chin will decide to collect what he paid for. Her hands were shaking again. She pressed them flat against the cool marble counter. This is not romance, Min-jae said quietly. This is survival. I'm not offering you a fairy tale. I'm offering you a shield. For how long? As long as you need it. And when I don't need it anymore, then we end it. Quietly. Cleanly. You walk away with your life intact. It was too good to be true. Too simple. There had to be a catch. Why? She asked. Why do this for me? He was silent for a long moment, his expression unreadable. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. Because I failed you once. When I didn't stop Junwoo, I won't fail you again. The sincerity in his voice was devastating. She wanted to believe him. Wanted to trust that this stranger with his quiet authority and careful hands was offering her salvation without strings. But she'd trusted Junwoo too. I need to think, she said. Take all the time you need. You're safe here. He stood, buttoning his collar. Try to rest. Morning will come regardless. He moved past her, close enough that she could feel the heat of his body, smell that cedar and smoke scent that clung to skin. Her breath caught. He paused, looking down at her. For a heartbeat, something flickered in his eyes, hunger, awareness, recognition of the electric charge that sparked between them. Then it was gone, shuttered behind that impenetrable control. Good night, Lucy, he said. She watched him go, her heart hammering against her ribs. She didn't sleep. She sat by the window, watching the city lights blur and sharpen as dawn approached, turning his offer over in her mind. Marriage. Protection. A devil's bargain wrapped in expensive silk. But what choice did she have? When the sun finally rose, painting the sky in shades of gold and blood, she found him in the kitchen again. He'd changed clothes, fresh shirt, no tie, sleeves rolled up to reveal corded forearms. He was making coffee, moving through the space with the ease of someone who owned everything he touched. I'll do it, she said. He didn't turn around. Are you sure? No, but I'm out of options. That's honest, at least. He poured 2 cups, sliding one across to her. We'll make it legal today. Low-key. Just paperwork. Just paperwork, she echoed. Marriage reduced to signatures and stamps. Would you prefer flowers and vows? His tone was dry. I can arrange that if it makes you feel better. I don't need theater. I need security. Good. He pulled out his phone. I'll have my lawyer meet us at the courthouse at noon. Bring nothing but your passport. That's it? No prenup? No contracts. The marriage is the contract. He met her eyes. Everything else is trust. I don't trust you. I know. His smile was sharp. You're learning. The courthouse was exactly as soulless as she'd imagined. Fluorescent lights. Beige walls. Bureaucratic efficiency. Min-jae's lawyer met them in the lobby, a woman in her 50s with steel gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. She looked at Lucy with something like pity, which was somehow worse than contempt. Papers are ready, she said. Judge Park is waiting. The ceremony took 11 minutes. Lucy knew because she counted every second, her hand trembling as she signed her name next to Min-jae's bold script. When the judge pronounced them married, Min-jae didn't kiss her. He just nodded, like they'd concluded a business transaction. Which, she supposed, they had. They were halfway to the car when her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Asterisk, I know what you did. We need to talk. JW asterisk. Min-jae saw her face, held out his hand. Let me see. She gave him the phone. He read the message, his expression darkening. Block the number, he said. He's going to keep trying. Let him try. Min-jae's voice was cold, final. He doesn't get to speak to my wife. The possessiveness in his tone sent heat pooling low in her belly, unwelcome and undeniable. "You're really going to do this?" she asked. "Protect me from him?" "I'm going to do more than that." He opened the car door for her, his hand settling briefly at the small of her back. "I'm going to make sure he regrets ever touching you." She slid into the car, her skin burning where he'd touched her. This was supposed to be practical, transactional, a marriage on paper. So why did her new husband look at her like she was already his? And why did part of her want to be? The apartment became a gilded cage over the next 3 days. Min-jae left each morning before dawn, returning after dark with tension carved into his shoulders and blood on his knuckles he thought she didn't notice. She noticed everything. The way he moved through space like he owned it. The way men's voices went quiet when he answered his phone. The way he watched her when he thought she wasn't looking, careful, assessing, hungry. On the 4th morning, she woke to find him sitting in her room. Not creepy. Not hovering. Just sitting in the chair by the window, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise paint her face gold. "How long have you been there?" she asked, pulling the sheets higher. "An hour. Maybe 2. No apology. No explanation. That's not normal. I never claimed to be normal." He stood, setting his cup on the windowsill. "Get dressed. We have a meeting." "With who?" "People who need to see that you're protected." He moved to the door, pausing. "Wear the dress I left in your closet. Black. Conservative. Nothing that draws the wrong kind of attention. I'm not a doll you can dress up." His eyes flashed. "No, you're my wife. And today, you need to look like it." The dress was Chanel. She knew because the label was still attached, along with a price tag that made her stomach turn. She almost refused on principle. But when she put it on, she understood. It wasn't about fashion. It was armor. The cut was severe, professional, designed to command respect. She paired it with the only heels she'd brought, pulling her hair into a sleek bun. When she emerged, Min-jae was waiting, and the way his gaze traveled over her made her feel stripped bare despite being completely covered. "Good," he said, voice rough. "Where are we going?" "To introduce you to the family." The family turned out to be a conference room in a building with no identifying markers, filled with men who looked like they'd kill without hesitation. Min-jae introduced her to each one, names she forgot immediately, faces she'd remember in nightmares. They bowed to her. Actually bowed. Like she was royalty instead of a desperate woman who'd married a stranger. "Gentlemen," Min-jae said, his hand settling possessively at her waist. "My wife, Lucy. Anyone who touches her, threatens her, or even looks at her wrong will answer to me personally." The room went deadly silent. One man, older, scarred, terrifying, smiled. "She's under the family's protection now." "Understood." "Not the family's," Min-jae corrected softly. "Mine." The distinction seemed important. The men nodded, and Lucy realized with creeping horror that she'd married into something far more dangerous than corporate corruption. This wasn't a business. This was a syndicate. In the car afterward, she finally found her voice. "You're a criminal." "I prefer entrepreneur." He didn't look at her, eyes on the road. "But yes, you run the Mafia." "I run several organizations that operate outside traditional legal frameworks." His tone was clinical. "Semantics. You kill people." "Sometimes." Still no emotion. "When necessary." She should have been terrified. She was. But underneath the fear was something else, a dark curiosity, a twisted attraction to the power he wielded so casually. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. "Would you have married me if I had?" Honest answer? No. She would have run screaming. "What happens now?" she asked instead. "Now we go home. You rest. Tonight, we attend a dinner." "What kind of dinner?" His smile was sharp enough to cut. "The kind where your ex-fiancé begs for his life." The restaurant was the kind of place that didn't have prices on the menu. Private room. Armed guards disguised as waiters. And at the head of the table, looking like he'd aged a decade in 4 days, sat Junwoo. He stood when Lucy entered, his eyes widening. "Lucy, you look." "Sit down," Min-jae said quietly. Junwoo sat. Min-jae pulled out Lucy's chair, his hand lingering on her shoulder as she settled. The gesture was possessive, territorial, designed to send a message. Junwoo received it, his face going pale. You married him, Junwoo said, voice hollow. You actually married him. She did. Min-jae poured wine, the picture of civility. 3 days ago. Legal. Binding. Permanent. Hyung, please. Don't call me that. Min-jae's voice dropped to something deadly. You lost that privilege when you sold your fiancé to a criminal. I didn't know Chin would. You knew exactly what he'd do. Min-jae set down the wine bottle with careful precision. You just didn't care. Lucy watched the exchange, her heart hammering. She'd imagined this confrontation 100 times, scripted devastating speeches, planned cutting remarks. But now, with Junwoo in front of her, she felt nothing. No rage. No pain. Just cold, empty certainty. She didn't love him anymore. Maybe she never had. I want my research back, she said calmly. Every file. Every note. Every piece of data you stole. Chin has it. I can't. Chin doesn't have it anymore. Min-jae leaned back, utterly relaxed. I acquired it this morning. Cost me a significant amount, but consider it a wedding gift. Lucy stared at him. You bought my research? I bought Chen's entire operation. He said it like it was nothing. The research was just part of the package. If you're still watching, drop a comment and let me know Team Min-jae or Team Run. Because this man is only getting more dangerous from here. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. You can't just, Junwoo started. I can. I did. Min-jae's attention shifted to him, predatory. Now we discuss your debt. What debt? I don't owe you. You owe Lucy 2 years of her life. You owe her the career you sabotaged. The trust you destroyed. The future you stole. Min-jae's voice was soft, conversational. How do you plan to repay that? Junwoo looked at Lucy, desperation in his eyes. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. Yes, you did, she said. You just didn't care how much. Lucy, please. She's not Lucy to you anymore. Min-jae stood, buttoning his jacket. She's Mrs. Kong. And you will address her with respect or not at all. Mrs. Kong. The name settled over her like a brand. You're going to leave Korea, Min-jae continued. Tonight. I've arranged a position in Singapore. Low level. Unglamorous. You'll take it, and you'll be grateful. You're exiling me? I'm letting you live. Min-jae's smile was terrifying. Be grateful I'm in a generous mood. He offered Lucy his arm, and she took it, letting him guide her toward the exit. At the door, she paused, looking back at Junwoo one last time. I hope it was worth it, she said. Trading me for money. It wasn't, Junwoo whispered. It wasn't worth anything. She turned away and didn't look back. In the car, Min-jae was silent, his jaw tight. Thank you, Lucy said finally. Don't thank me. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I should have done that weeks ago. You didn't owe me anything then. I owed you everything. He pulled over suddenly, the car jerking to a stop in an empty parking lot. I watched him use you. Watched him manipulate you. And I did nothing because it wasn't my place to interfere. Why was it your place now? He turned to face her, and the raw emotion in his eyes stole her breath. Because you're mine now. And I protect what's mine. The air between them crackled with tension. She should have been afraid of the possessiveness in his voice, the claiming in his words. Instead, he pulled low in her belly, dangerous and electric. I'm not yours, she said, but her voice betrayed her, breathy and uncertain. Aren't you? He leaned closer, not touching, just letting his presence overwhelm her. You wear my ring. Sleep in my home. Carry my name. What does that make you if not mine? Your wife on paper. Is that all? His gaze dropped to her mouth, and she forgot how to breathe. Because when Junwoo looked at you tonight, I wanted to break every bone in his body. When you said my name in that restaurant, I wanted to drag you out of there and show you exactly what being my wife means. Min-jae. But I won't. He pulled back, and the loss of his heat felt like abandonment. Because you didn't marry me for passion. You married me for protection. And I won't take advantage of that, no matter how much I want to. Want to what? His laugh was harsh. Everything. I want everything with you. The confession hung between them, raw and honest and terrifying. I don't know what I want, she admitted. Then we wait until you do. He started the car again, his expression controlled. I can be patient. The weeks that followed were torture. They lived in the same space, ate meals together, fell into a rhythm that felt dangerously domestic. Min-jae was careful never to touch her unnecessarily, never to push, never to demand. And somehow that restraint was more seductive than any advance. She noticed things. The way he always positioned himself between her and danger. The way he remembered how she took her coffee. The way his eyes followed her across a room, hungry and controlled. She noticed the blood on his shirts that appeared and disappeared. The late-night phone calls in Korean too rapid for her to follow. The men who bowed when he walked by, fear and respect in equal measure. He was dangerous. Morally compromised. Exactly the kind of man she should run from. So why did she find herself gravitating toward him? Why did her pulse jump when he entered a room? Why did she dream about his hands, his mouth, the controlled violence coiled beneath his skin? One night, unable to sleep, she found him on the balcony. He was smoking, something she'd never seen him do, staring out at the city like it was his kingdom. Can't sleep, he asked without turning. Neither can you. I told you. I rarely do. He took a drag, the ember glowing in the darkness. Too many ghosts. She moved to stand beside him, close enough to feel his warmth. Tell me about them. Why? Because I'm your wife. And I don't know anything about you. He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I was 8 when my parents were killed. Car accident. Drunk driver. His voice was emotionless, reciting facts. I was in the car. I survived. They didn't. Min-jae. Junwoo's father took me in. Raised me alongside his son. Gave me opportunities, education, power. And in return, I became his enforcer. His weapon. He stubbed out the cigarette. I've done things that would make you hate me. Hurt people. Killed people. Built an empire on blood and fear. Are you trying to scare me away? I'm trying to be honest. He finally looked at her, and the vulnerability in his eyes was devastating. You asked who I am. This is who I am. A monster in an expensive suit. She should have been horrified. Should have run. Instead, she reached out, her fingers brushing his jaw. He froze. You're not a monster, she said softly. Monsters don't protect. They don't keep promises. They don't look at broken women and offer them shields instead of cages. Lucy, you're dangerous. Morally gray. Terrifying in ways I don't fully understand. Her thumb traced his lower lip, and his breath caught. But you're not a monster. You don't know what I'm capable of. So show me. The words hung between them, a challenge and an invitation. His control snapped. He kissed her like he was drowning, and she was air, desperate, consuming, absolutely devastating. His hands tangled in her hair, angling her head to deepen the kiss, and she melted against him, gasping when his teeth caught her lower lip. God, he breathed against her mouth. I've wanted to do that since I first saw you. Then why did you wait? Because you deserved better than me taking advantage. He pulled back, his eyes dark with desire. You still do. What if I want you to take advantage? His laugh was pained. Don't say things like that. Why not? Because my self-control has limits. His forehead pressed against hers, his breathing ragged. And you're testing every single one. She could feel him trembling with restraint, every muscle coiled tight. The power of it was intoxicating, knowing she could break this controlled, dangerous man with a word. Min-jae, she whispered. If I don't step away right now, he said, voice rough, I won't stop. I'll take you inside, strip you bare, and show you exactly what being my wife means. In every possible way. Heat flooded through her, pooling between her thighs. Maybe that's what I want. Is it? His hand cupped her face, thumb stroking her cheek. Or are you just lonely and scared and looking for comfort? The question cut through the haze of desire. Was she? Was this just proximity and shared trauma and the safety he represented? I don't know, she admitted. Then we wait. He kissed her forehead, the gesture achingly tender. When you're sure, when you come to me because you want me and not because you need me, I'll give you everything. But not before. He stepped back, and the loss of his warmth felt like dying. I'm going to my room, he said. You should go to yours. Now. She went, her body aching, her mind racing. That night, she dreamed of his hands, his mouth, the controlled power in every movement. She woke gasping, need coiling tight in her belly. 3 days later, everything changed. She was at the university, meeting with her department head about reinstating her research position. Min-jae had made a single phone call, and suddenly doors that were slammed shut flew open when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Asterisk, you think you're safe because you married him? He can't protect you forever. Chin asterisk. Her blood ran cold. She called Min-jae immediately. He answered on the first ring. Chin contacted me, she said, voice shaking. Where are you? Campus. The research building. Stay there. Don't move. I'm sending someone. Min-jae. Trust me. His voice was hard, commanding. Stay put. I'll handle this. The line went dead. 10 minutes later, 3 men in suits arrived, flanking her like Secret Service. They escorted her to a car, and she realized with growing dread that this wasn't over. Chin wasn't just going to disappear because Min-jae willed it. When they arrived at the apartment, Min-jae was waiting, and the look on his face was terrifying. Pack a bag, he said. We're leaving. Leaving? Where? Somewhere Chin can't reach you. He was already moving, pulling weapons from hidden compartments, checking ammunition. He's escalating. I need you safe while I deal with this. Deal with it how? He looked at her, and she saw the truth in his eyes. He was going to kill Chin. Personally. You can't, she said. That's murder. That's protection. He holstered a gun, the motion practiced. He threatened my wife. There are consequences for that. Min-jae, please. You don't get to ask me to show mercy to a man who wants to hurt you. His voice was steel. I told you who I was. This is who I am. Before she could respond, his phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression darkening. When? Pause. How many? Longer pause. Secure the perimeter. I'm on my way. He hung up, meeting her eyes. Chen's men are at the building. They know you're here. Fear spiked through her. What do we do? We leave. Now. He grabbed her hand, pulling her toward a door she'd never noticed, hidden behind a bookshelf. This leads to a private exit. There's a car waiting. And you. I stay. Draw them away from you. No, she grabbed his arm. I'm not leaving you here to face them alone. Lucy. I'm your wife, remember? We're in this together. Something shifted in his expression, surprise, respect, something darker. If we do this together, you follow my orders exactly. No questions. No hesitation. Understood. She nodded. He kissed her hard, claiming, then pulled back. Stay behind me. Always. They moved through the hidden passage, emerging in an underground garage. The car was running, a driver waiting. Min-jae pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. Change of plans, he said to the driver. Take us to the warehouse. The warehouse turned out to be exactly what it sounded like, a massive industrial space filled with shipping containers and armed men. Min-jae's men. An army hidden in plain sight. He brought her to an office on the upper level, secure and soundproof. Stay here, he said, checking his gun. No matter what you hear, you stay here. What are you going to do? End this. He cupped her face, his eyes burning into hers. I'm going to show Chin what happens when someone threatens what's mine. Min-jae. He kissed her, deep and consuming, like he was memorizing the taste of her. When he pulled away, his expression was set. If something happens to me, he said, there's a file on the desk. Papers. Money. Instructions. You'll be protected even if I'm not here. Nothing's going to happen to you. His smile was sad. You have more faith than I deserve. He left, locking the door behind him. Lucy sat in that office for what felt like hours, listening to muffled sounds from below. Shouts. Gunfire. Screams. She pressed her hands over her ears, trying to block it out, but the violence seeped through anyway. When the door finally opened, she gasped, scrambling back. Min-jae stood there alive, blood on his shirt and knuckles, but alive. It's done, he said flatly. Chen's dead. His operation is dismantled. You're safe. She should have asked how. Should have demanded details. Instead, she launched herself at him, her arms wrapping around his neck. He caught her, holding her tight, his face buried in her hair. Her voice broke. I thought you weren't coming back. I always come back. His arms tightened. I told you. I protect what's mine. She pulled back just enough to look at him, seeing the exhaustion, the violence, the man beneath the monster. Take me home, she whispered. Home, he repeated, like the word was foreign. Wherever you are. That's home. Something in him broke. He kissed her like he was starving, lifting her against him, carrying her toward the door. Are you sure? He asked against her mouth. Because if we do this, there's no going back. You'll be mine. Completely. I'm already yours. She kissed him harder. I have been since you gave me your coat. He carried her to the car, barely letting her go long enough to get inside. During the drive, his hand stayed on her thigh, possessive and grounding. At the apartment, he kicked the door shut behind them, pressing her against it. Last chance, he said, his voice rough. Tell me to stop. Don't you dare stop. He didn't. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled like him, Lucy traced the scars on his chest. Tell me you don't regret this, he said quietly. I don't. She kissed the scar over his heart. I regret ever doubting you. You had every reason to doubt me. Maybe. She looked up at him. But I choose to trust you anyway. His arms tightened around her. I'll spend the rest of my life earning that trust. The rest of your life? She raised an eyebrow. That's a long time for a contract marriage. This stopped being a contract the moment you defended me to Junwoo. He tilted her chin up, his eyes serious. This is real, Lucy. You're real. And I'm not letting you go. Good. She kissed him softly. Because I'm not going anywhere. 3 months later, Lucy stood in her new lab funded by Min-jae's business ventures, staring at her research, finally complete. The breakthroughs she'd made would change the field. Doors that had been closed were opening. She heard footsteps behind her, recognized them instantly. How's my wife the genius? Min-jae asked, wrapping his arms around her waist. Married to a criminal. She leaned back against him. How's my husband the kingpin? Reformed. He kissed her neck. Mostly. She laughed. Liar. Fine. Reforming. For you. He turned her in his arms, serious now. I'm leaving the violent side of things behind. Transitioning to legitimate business. It'll take time, but I'm not asking you to change. She cupped his face. I love who you are. All of you. Even the parts that scare me. You're insane. Probably. She grinned. But you married me anyway. Best decision I ever made. He kissed her slowly, thoroughly. Even if it started as a contract. It was never just a contract. She smiled against his mouth. I think we both knew that from the beginning. Oh. He raised an eyebrow. When did you know? When you gave me your coat. You looked at me like I was already yours. Because you were. His voice dropped. From that moment, you were mine. I just had to wait for you to realize it. Possessive bastard. You're possessive bastard. He lifted her onto the lab table, stepping between her thighs. Forever. Forever's a long time. Not nearly long enough. He kissed her again, and she melted into him, this dangerous, beautiful man who'd become her home. Someone cleared their throat. They broke apart to find Junwoo's father standing in the doorway, looking uncomfortable. Apologies for interrupting, he said. But Min-jae, we have a situation. Handle it, Min-jae said without looking away from Lucy. I'm busy. It's about the merger. I said handle it. His tone left no room for argument. My wife comes first. Always. The old man smiled, nodding. As it should be. He left, and Lucy laughed. You're terrible at this retirement thing. I'm excellent at the only thing that matters. He pulled her closer. Loving you. That was almost romantic. Almost? He looked offended. I married you. Protected you. Killed for you. What more do you want? You. Just you. She kissed him softly. Every dangerous, morally gray, absolutely perfect part of you. You're going to ruin my reputation. Good. She grinned. Big bad Min-jae, brought to his knees by love. I was already on my knees. His voice was serious. The moment I saw you crying in that hallway. I just didn't know it yet. Before we wrap this up, I need to know, did Minjae and Lucy's story wreck you as much as it wrecked me? Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment. Hit that like button if you're a sucker for morally gray men who would burn the world down for one woman. And subscribe, because I've got more stories that'll make your heart race and your stomach flip. See you in the next one. 6 months after that, they renewed their vows. Real ones this time. With flowers and guests and promises that meant everything. Junwoo wasn't invited. He was still in Singapore, working his way back to mediocrity. As Lucy walked down the aisle toward Minjae, she thought about that night in the hotel corridor. The broken woman in a rehearsal dress. The silent guardian who'd offered her a choice. She'd chosen survival. Found love. Become someone stronger than she'd ever imagined. Minjae watched her approach, his eyes bright with emotion. This man who'd killed for her and would die for her and somehow loved her enough to let her be free. When she reached him, he took her hands. No regrets? He asked softly. None. She smiled. You. Only that I didn't find you sooner. We found each other when we needed to. She squeezed his hands. That's what matters. I love you, he said, the words still new, still precious. Every broken, brilliant, beautiful part of you. I love you too. She kissed him, not waiting for permission. My devil in Armani. He laughed against her mouth. I prefer reformed criminal in designer suits. Too wordy. Fair enough. He grinned. How about just yours? Perfect. She kissed him again. That's absolutely perfect. And in that moment, surrounded by people who'd once feared him and now celebrated him, Minjae realized something profound. He'd spent his life building walls, collecting power, becoming untouchable. But the moment he'd touched her, he'd become something more. Human. Whole. Hers. Lucy hadn't saved him. She'd shown him he was worth saving. And that made all the difference. As they left the chapel, hand in hand, she leaned close. What are you thinking? She asked. That I didn't marry the devil. He smiled. I married the woman who taught the devil how to love. She laughed. That's the cheesiest thing you've ever said. I know. He kissed her temple. You're a terrible influence. You love it. I love you. He said it easily now, like breathing. Everything else is just details. They drove away from the chapel toward their future, complicated, dangerous, absolutely theirs. Because sometimes the best love stories don't start with a meet cute. They start with a betrayal, a choice, and a man who looks at a broken woman and says, let me help you be whole. And sometimes, the devil isn't the one you should fear. He's the one you should marry.